There's no shortage of female superheroes in Japan. In fact, some of the most famous Japanese superheroes have gone on to inspire their whole genre. However, today's subject is a little bit less talked about. Half robot, half cop, and half all-star female tennis player, she is Lady Battle Cop. Kaoru Mikoshiba is just your average everyday tennis champion in Neo Tokyo. However, one day her fiancé gets gunned down by the evil Team Phantom. Phantom, employed by a larger criminal organization known as Cartel, will stop at nothing to achieve world domination, and her fiancé's Battle Cop program is getting in the way of that goal. In a last-ditch effort for survival, Kaoru is transformed by her dying fiancé into Lady Battle Cop. Now with new cybernetic implants, Kaoru will stop at nothing until she's avenged her fiancé and taken out the entirety of Cartel and the Phantoms. In the 1990s, Japan was experiencing its boom in the direct-to-video market. These videos were made with much fewer restrictions than what could be shown on television. This also meant that it gave directors creative freedom to do what they wanted, as long as they stuck mostly to conventional genres. Action and horror were easy sells early on, but if you wanted to have your tapes flying off the shelves, you had to put a pretty lady on the front cover. Seeing this growing trend, Toei wanted in on the cash flow. Very quickly, they assembled a team that was mostly already working on their Metal Heroes television series. Metal Heroes itself was the all-encompassing name for superhero TV shows made by Toei in the 80s and 90s. That weren't Kamen Rider and weren't Super Sentai. They were kind of their own thing, each one focused on a different set of superheroes that usually had some sort of cybernetic enhancements, though they weren't necessarily cyborgs or robots. Akihisa Okamoto, the episode director of Sekai Ninja Sen Jiraiya, and the then currently airing Mobile Sheriff Giban, was set to direct Lady Battle Cop. Giban's suit designer, Keita Amamiya, would also work on Battle Cop, though he was likely splitting his time between it and his own upcoming V-Cinema film, Zeiram. Now, while there's a lot of shared DNA between Giban and Lady Battle Cop, the first thing that anyone's going to compare this to is, well, RoboCop. And it's understandable. The films both start with this fake news footage, they both involve revenge plots, and cop is in the title of both. But Battle Cop is far less satirical. In fact, some would say that it's not really even satirical in any way. It's a superhero story. Despite being a Battle Cop, Kaoru is never deputized, she's not a police officer, and she doesn't really do any cop-like things other than, shooting a lot of people. And to be honest, the lady half of the Lady Battle Cop is surprisingly underutilized. Sure, she has a super hot metal wire that comes from an earring, and yes, she does have a kickstand that comes out from her heel for when she wants to shoot a missile from her wrist in what might possibly be the most slay pose for any tokusatsu hero. But the Lady Battle Cop suit itself is hardly exploitive. In fact, it doesn't really show any skin other than her mouth, and that's probably just because RoboCop did it. Not only is it actually tastefully made, I would say it's actually a pretty good design. Outside of one shower scene, Kaoru isn't really sexualized at all, and once she dons the Lady Battle Cop outfit, she's never really helpless. She's also the one that does the ass-kicking for the entirety of the film. But Lady Battle Cop isn't going to be championed as a feminist film anytime soon, and that's all the more apparent when you look at the lyrics to its main theme. However, there is a fatal flaw in Lady Battle Cop, and that stems from it kind of being a ripoff of RoboCop, but not in the way that you might think. Battle Cop, especially towards the end of the movie, is pitted against swarms of enemies, which she handles by robotically shooting each and every one at a time. This makes fight scenes a bit of a chore to get through, honestly, and I have to wonder if it was due in part to a clash in how tokusatsu movies and TV shows are made versus what they wanted to emulate in RoboCop. In RoboCop, there's really only one scene where he's pitted against a large collection of criminals, and most of them end up running away. All the other times, he's against a small group that he's able to take on one by one, which makes his slow-moving, point-and-shoot action a lot more understandable and tolerable than Lady Battle Cop walking from person to person and just mindlessly shooting. While other Toku heroes might fight with a melee weapon, Battle Cop really doesn't have much of that in her arsenal. Except for the kickstand missile and the gun, that's it. She doesn't really have anything to physically hit people with. And instead of big rubbery suited monsters, she's really just fighting average everyday humans, which kinda gets boring after a while. Clearly something was lost in this whole dramatic shift. However, the highlight of the film and some of the best fights come with this mutant psychic bodybuilder man named Amadeus. Amadeus's supernatural abilities actually push Kaoru into fighting creatively, and because of this we get more imaginative special effects sequences. I would have liked to see more fights like this, against other psychics or other cartel experiments, and I probably would have liked to see more of Lady Battle Cop in general. But it seems like it wasn't meant to be in the end. Lady Battle Cop leaves off claiming that the battle will continue, but ultimately it never did. Likely, LBC wasn't the smash hit that Toei hoped for, and this could have been for a variety of reasons. The audience for Metal Heroes was much younger than the audience that Lady Battle Cop was trying to go for. But Lady Battle Cop was still pretty far from the more mature and exploitive films that V Cinema had become known for. It's a movie that's caught between two diverging demographics, and ultimately fell between the cracks of time. The movie has only been acknowledged a handful of times by Toei, and usually that's just when they're rerunning it on Japanese television. Still, it's garnered some cult interest overseas, due in part to how blatant it rips off RoboCop, and also for just how plain weird the movie is in general. RoboCop was followed up by a series of progressively worse sequels and forgettable television shows. What it really needed was a fun, campy follow-up to it. And that's what Lady Battle Cop is. Despite starting as a potential cash grab, the film surpasses its status as a ripoff by delivering a concise plot and imaginative special effects. No longer is it living in its American counterpart's shadow. Lady Battle Cop has earned its place in Japanese cult cinema.